Okay, so Reemi, take me back, what must be close to 18 months ago now. What were the series of trigger moments that led to you wanting to take action and kickstart your journey with us at RNT?
So for me, it was a couple of things. The first was that I was caring for my terminally ill mum. She was diagnosed with motor neuron disease in 2019. So I'm seeing this amazingly active woman who could sing, who could amazing cook, who would be moving every day, walking, did aerobics, this, that, whatever, completely getting paralyzed bit by bit. That's what happens in motor neuron disease, and it had a massive impact on me. So there was this one part where I needed to be strong and I needed to lift her sometimes off her seat. So I needed the strength for that. I also needed to give her the strength that this is okay. I'm here for you. And I just needed something to focus on in order for me to be there for her and to be there for myself. The second part was that I turned to eating junk food. I was emotional eating, and before you know it, I'm my clothes are tight. I just started feeling worse in myself. I've always generally been healthy, but just got to a point where, along with mum's stuff, my dad in between got really ill. So he was diagnosed with cancer. And the perimenopause kicking in, everything came together, and my eating just got out of hand. And it's the heaviest I've been since my two pregnancies, which were 16 and 18 years ago. And yeah, I just thought something needs to be done. And I had actually seen RNT pop up on my screen for the last, I'd say, 4 years. And I always thought, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what it would be like to join that. But I was too scared. I just thought, there's no way I can stick with this. And it popped up again. And literally after, in New Year 2024, January 24, I think a week before the course was starting, I thought, right, I'm going to do this. I just dove in. I thought nothing's going to stop me. I've got to take action, and that was that.
Why did you have to take action at the start of 2024 versus the previous 4 years?
Because I was the heaviest I'd been. My mum was getting worse. I had tried loads of things before that. So I have been a yoga instructor since 2014. I taught vinyasa yoga, I taught hatha yoga, I taught yin yoga. I was also in and out of doing weights. I used to do HIIT all the time, but it just got to a point where I felt stuck. I think everything had plateaued. Nutritionally, I am quite aware of the things I'm meant to be eating, but I didn't know the combinations in which they need to be had. So I wasn't clear on how much protein, how much fat, how much carbs I need according to my height, weight, whatever during the day. So all of that wasn't in place. So even though I had bits of it, I used to move, I used to teach yoga, I used to do the HIIT. I tried strength training here and there, even had a PT at one point. The nutrition was, I guess, always my weak point. And it just got to a stage where I thought, I've got to go with a program that's going to give me everything and not just the training or not just nutrition. It needed to go hand in hand. And hence, that's where I picked RNT.
When you say the food became like a big crutch of yours, like what were you, how was your relationship with food, and how did it change as you're going through these stresses? When were you picking on food, using food, etc.? How did that, and I'm assuming that was what led to you getting to your heaviest state at the end of 23.
It was literally, I'd go see mum, I'd put my carer's hat on whilst I'm there. That was the best way I found that I could deal with her situation. And then as soon as I came home, because it had upset me to be there, and I would go there 5-6 times a day, I'd come home and I'd have crisps. Or I wouldn't have eaten properly whilst I was there. And because that's a vegetarian household and they, the food there was what they liked, I probably wouldn't eat it. Or even if I did, it would be very carb heavy, right? So I'd come home and then I'd pick on something because I'm hungry again. I never felt full. I never I don't even do sweet food. I've never really been a dessert person, but I turned to sugar. So I was, anytime some aunt had made some Indian sweet stuff, which I don't normally have, I was having like a bowl of it, and it's really weird. I just used to say to myself, think to myself, why am I doing this? I knew why I was doing. I just couldn't stop myself. I just couldn't stop myself, and it was because it's a deeper problem, isn't it? Because I was trying to deal with my mum's illness, but also I think as soon as she got the diagnosis, my grieving had started because I knew what the outcome was going to be, and what we were seeing on a 6 monthly basis, how she was deteriorating. It was awful. It really was awful. So I think it just took a toll. And for me, that short period of just eating what I felt like eating was pure bliss, but then it doesn't last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your lowest moment in the build up to realizing you needed to change?
I couldn't fit into my clothes because in 2021, I think I'd done an online 3-month fitness program, which was nutrition and training. And I had lost weight and I was really happy and I looked great and everything. However, come 22, 23, and then 24, mum's condition got horrendously worse. And when I'm trying to, maybe just pick a pair of jeans and they don't fit, or another thing was seeing a picture of myself, group of friends went out, and then obviously you see your pictures, and I just thought, like, in the moment you don't realize you've put on that much weight, and then when you see a picture and you think, gosh, and I wasn't massive, I was probably a 12, 14, but for me hitting 14 was a big thing, size 14. And I just felt uncomfortable. I felt heavy. I felt lethargic. I felt my mind wasn't clear. I felt my knees were achy. And because I had generally been in really good health and quite fit, all of this kind of just came on suddenly. So, yeah, hit me quite bad.
What went when you had this previous 3-month experience? What do you think didn't allow you to sort of sustain what you'd learned in that period?
I think you're fine for those 3 months when you've got the guidance, right? So for the 3 months, you've got someone who is helping you out and you're staying accountable to this person. But after the 3 months, I'm back on my own again. And the 3 months were not enough to give me that grounding. Because whatever habits I've formed over the last 10, 15 years, they're not going to be undone in 3 months. So the fact that the 3 months were great, after that, I was back on my own again. So yes, I carried on with the training and I carried on with the macros I was given, whatever, but I didn't know how to vary them. I didn't know what change I needed at what time. I didn't know how much cardio I should be doing. It was me by myself guessing, that, oh, maybe I should do this, do that. And then again, of course, bad habits started forming again. And I just felt that I needed more than just 3 months with someone. Yeah, I think the time period didn't help at all.
So for many years, you saw RNT and you weren't sure if this was something you commit to. And then all these moments that you described just now, kind of building, stacking on top of one another. How did you get out of your own way of the fear of like thinking, can I actually do this with what I've got going on in my life? Especially, you've got teenage boys, you've got work, you've got now your mother's deteriorating. It's very easy to think, oh, I'll put that off till another year, another year, another year. How'd you get out of your own way there and think, right, I'm going to do this now, even though life is just crazy?
It was a case of, so I turned 51 last year when I got into RNT, and it was a case of I just had to pull my finger out and just get on with it. And it was, I have to, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to be able to be there for my mum emotionally and physically. I'm not going to be able to be there for my boys. And I'm not going to be able to be there for myself in the sense that no one is going to see the best version of me. And because of that, everyone's going to suffer. And I thought, mum is slowly deteriorating. Dad's been diagnosed with cancer. They both needed me. And I thought, if I don't do this, my head's not going to be in the right space. Physically, I felt rubbish. And to me, it's really important that physically I feel good, because anytime I am feeling physically strong and physically capable, my mind is just on another level. I feel amazing. So, even with the whole yoga thing, the HIIT sessions that I used to do, I was a regular with exercise in that sense. But of late, that had become sort of, I'd do it some days, I wouldn't do it some days, but when I did it, I wouldn't go in with the 100% commitment it needed. So it just got to a point where I thought, I've just got to see past this and just get on with it, because I'm not going to know where this is going to take me if I don't try it. And the one thing about RNT that really scared me was the food. I was so scared I wouldn't be able to stick with the whole food regime. That's the thing that scared me the most. The training didn't bother me, the steps didn't bother me, or none of that bothered me. It was the food that bothered me. And I even said to my husband, if there's one thing that's going to make me quit this program, it's going to be the food.
Yeah, well, and here we are, and 15 months later.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Amazing. So you dove in head first. How was the food when you started? You entered cleaning the palate. What was that like?
So when we did CTP, I mean, honestly, I think I was one of those who created a bit of a fuss in the beginning, because Lewis said, right, you're going to have 2 weeks of having the same food, same meal plan every single day. I tried it for 3 days, and I texted him and I said, I can't do this. No chance. It's just not going to happen. This is going to be the quickest way for me to fall off the wagon here. And he said, okay, let's set up another meal plan and you can switch between the two. So that was brilliant. And also, even though I eat meat, I can't have it every day.
Yeah.
I just can't. So, it was a matter of, I think the initial plan had eggs for breakfast, and then chicken for lunch and chicken for dinner, or fish for dinner, or something like that. I can't do eggs every day. I can't do chicken every day. I'm just a real fusspot. And I said to him that, can we just add a bit of lentils here? And, instead of eggs, I'll do a bit of chicken, but can we add a bit of tofu, or, just mix it up a bit. And as soon as we did that, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. But it took a lot of hard work on my part to stick with it. There were days where I just think, F it, I'm just going to eat what I want to eat, because I was getting so fed up of it. But I'd have a bite of my husband's food, whatever he's eating, and he would give me that sort of taste or whatever. And then I'd go back to eating what I'm eating. And that was okay, but I slowly got into it, because you start seeing those results creeping in slowly, and you think, okay, this is not bad. So yeah, CTP, that's how I dealt with it.
Can you talk a little bit more about that aspect of, it feels quite overwhelming / you're not really enjoying it, because let's face it, like eating different foods to what you normally quote unquote love, and you feel like this is just your normal way of eating. This is a new way of eating, something you're doing after decades of habits. It can feel challenging because you haven't figured out the recipes yet. You haven't figured out how to make it taste as good as normal. And it's just so easy to throw in the towel. So like, for someone who's in that situation now, how would you advise someone to get to the other side of where you do find your flow, you're finding it more efficient, the recipes are kicking in, you're starting to get a bit more creative, which, I'm assuming you are now. Like, how did you get to that bit outside of the other side?
So for me, it was a case of I actually had to tell myself off a good few times. I had to tell my husband to tell me off a good few times because for me, it was a case of if you're going to do this, you have to be 100% committed. You can't expect to go into this and then have the flexibility of eating whatever you want because that's what's got you here in the first place. That's why we're in this situation where we just eat without thinking, and we all love our food. Most of us love our food, and you want that variety. You want to eat everything that's available. But to me, it was a case of, right, I'm 51. Enough is enough. I've eaten all my life. Now I just need, and I've done well. I've had phases where I've eaten really badly, and I've had phases where it's a mix, and I've had phases where I've been really healthy. But it just got to a point where you've got to differentiate between, is this something that you really, really want, or is this just a phase that you're going through? If you really, really want this and you want to change your life and you want to make a lifestyle out of it, I think it comes down to your why, why you started this program in the first place. And I think if your reason is strong enough, then you will do whatever you have to do to get to the other side. Food is a big thing for me, but you don't have, yes, there will be restriction initially, but later on there isn't, because you can actually eat everything you want. You've just got to be smart about it. Your portions, the ingredients that you add, the type of ingredients that you use, and flavoring is key. You don't have to have loads of unhealthy ingredients. You can spice it up with the most simple ingredients, and flavors. So that's the main thing. I think just being disciplined as to why you've picked this program in the first place, and knowing that if you don't change your ways, then the result's not going to be there.
Yeah. And when you had these moments yourself, what was some of the conversations you had that helped you? And what did you tell your husband? What did he say to you?
He's brilliant, because he's a sort of a he's like a brain. His job is he's a brain coach, actually.
Okay.
He's also very spiritual. So for him, it's a no-brainer. He's like, right, you've committed to this. You've given yourself that chance. No one is stopping you. This is for yourself. Why would you not go for it? There's this whole world out there that doesn't have all the opportunities that you've got, including, paying this amount to someone who is going to help you get to where you want to be. Why would you not? That's as simple as it can get with him. He's like, just be grateful that you've actually got the chance to help yourself get into shape, to help your mum, to do all this. Why would you not care?
Yeah, clap on set. Sorry, Reemi, when you tap the desk, it comes. It's fine. When you tap the desk, just watch it, because it'll come in the audio. It'll be fine for that bit. I'll clap us in. When you talk about your husband, you're like.
Yeah.
And what conversations did you have with your husband before starting? Because that's obviously a key part of this journey of having supportive spouse, family, getting them all aware of what mum is about to go through. What was that conversation like? Did you have a conversation? Did he kind of just spring as a surprise? Like, how did that look?
On the day RNT popped up on my screen, and I thought, I think this is the right program for me. I said to him, I'm thinking of doing this. And he knew, I'd mentioned RNT to him before, and he knew about RNT as well. So we'd both seen it before, and we knew a couple of people who'd done it. And he said, if that's what you want to do, just go for it. Don't half go in it. 100%, put yourself into it, see what you can do with it. And if this is what you're going to do, make sure you commit to it 100%. He was all for it. And I had his and my boys' support completely. And my boys are like complete gym bunnies. They they're always flexing their biceps and triceps and this and that. So they were like, here we go. So for me, it was perfect.
Brilliant. Okay, so you entered CPTP, you've mastered it, you find your groove, you go into the process phase. What were some of the biggest challenges you found in the process phase en route to your transformation checkpoint?
Process, I think the calorie deficit is a big one. Well, it's the main one. And I honestly surprised myself. I didn't think I'd get through it, but I actually ended up loving the grind and the process phase. I just completely got in my groove there. I was seeing the results. I was watching the scale go down. That gave me motivation. I was feeling energetic, so that gave me motivation. I was on a complete mental high. So anything that happened with mom, I was dealing with it so well. I basically at that point, nothing could faze me. Out of the whole journey, weirdly enough, that was my favorite moment.
And did you ever have issues with stress eating or using food as a coping mechanism?
No, it was really bizarre. I remember as soon as I started the grind, we were meeting up with our friends, and I ate at home and then left myself to have a Coke Zero with them, So whilst they were eating, and we'd gone for an Indian somewhere, which is one of my favorite foods, they ate, I'd eaten at home. I just had a Coke Zero whilst they were eating. And that's when I said to them, look, guys, before we even met, I texted them saying, I'm doing this. I need your support. And, when we meet up at the end of the week, I'm not going to be eating. They were brilliant. They were so supportive. And in a way, me doing that just made me feel like I was totally in control. And it made me feel so good that I could actually just sit there, watch the meet, and it did not affect me one bit. So for me, it was a complete win-win, but I never thought I was absolutely crapping it, entering the grind, because I thought I'm not going to be able to deal with this. How does anyone go through this and, get to the other side? It's completely possible. It is possible, but it's because of all the external stresses that I had in my life. How am I going to put up with this? How am I going to deal with this? But actually, it just gave me extra energy. My mind was completely clear. I felt strong physically. I felt strong mentally. I literally felt like I could take on the world at the time.
Amazing. And why do you think that urge to reach for food had disappeared? Like, what was different in your mind, in your approach, in your thoughts? Or?
To be honest with you, I don't know if I can pinpoint to one thing, but I think it was a combination of being the extra steps that I had to do every day. So I was doing, I think, 15K steps every day. I was doing cardio 7 days a week. I was doing training 3 times a week. And when you're having that many dopamine hits every day, I think it just puts you in a place where instead of reacting, you just manage things better. So I felt like I wasn't, my go-to wasn't to react and say, right, sod this, but, everything's just there, I'm going to eat. I was more like, okay, well, this is okay. This is fine. This is the way it is. And this is how we're going to deal with it. So I think the movement, the clean food that I was eating helped me as well, because I was not feeling tired. I was not feeling lethargic. I had energy. I was not feeling, when after a full day of school, teenage boys, mum, dad, come home, finishing all of my routine and then coming home, I wasn't tired. I could literally still go on for another few hours. So I was just in a place where I felt like I could deal with stuff. So I wasn't emotionally eating at that point. And like I said, I wasn't reacting. I was more just getting on with stuff in a positive way.
So what made you book a photo shoot then?
honestly, my initial reaction was, I'm not doing a photo shoot. And I think I even said to Lewis, I don't really want to do a photo shoot. This is a real personal journey for me. I don't want my pictures out there. And he said, you don't have to show your pictures to anyone. They can only be just for you. And I was like, yeah, but I don't think I want to do a photo shoot. And then as I got further and further into the journey, I thought, okay, there's a reason why people do a photo shoot, and I thought, and because I was seeing results, I turned to hubby and I said, I think I'm going to do this. And he's like, go for it. And for me, I think I wanted to have a record of my achievement, basically. I'm 51 and I thought it takes a lot of discipline to do this with everything else that's going on around me. And also to prove to the boys that women can be strong as well. Women can build muscle. Women can do this as well. And it's the best thing I did having the photo shoot done, because now when I look at the pictures, I am so proud of myself. And you know what? The best thing was I showed my mum the pictures in June. She passed away in October. So I showed her the pictures in June and she just smiled. And I said, Mum, this is for you. And, with as much sort of energy, she said, thank you to me. And for me, that was the best feeling. That was absolutely the best feeling, because she was struggling to talk at that stage. And I said, Mum, if I can be strong for you and I can pick you up and I can basically just be there for you, that's my job done. And for me, she drove me. She encouraged me. And I think the photo shoots, if anyone out there is thinking, shall I not? I think just do it for your own personal sort of proof of what you can achieve, if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, for sure. And what were you able to do that you weren't able to do before with this newfound strength and resilience when it came to looking after your mum in her last few days?
Akash, towards the end, it got to a point where she could barely eat. Her jaw was stuck together. She couldn't talk and she was completely paralyzed. And I had to pick her up a few times. I literally had to pick her up, but the carer would help me, but I was the main strength there to pick her up, lift her off her seat, to put her in another seat. Now we had a device, not like a wheelchair, but it's like can't explain to you what it's like. But anyway, we used to put her on there and then wheel her to her room. But towards the end, we couldn't do that. And the hoist that they'd given us, she found that really, really uncomfortable. So we'd use that sometimes, but there are other times when anytime I had to move her in bed, and it would be me by myself, I could do it, and the strength I felt physically and mentally, it kind of, and what I saw her go through, it kind of just, I guess, helped me realize that no matter what happens, at least if I've got some kind of strength in myself, I've got some kind of functional mobility in myself, then, I will be okay in the future. Yes, if an illness hits me in the way it hit my mum, fine, that's okay. But it just made me realize that I've got to get this sorted, and I've got to work for my own future and for my own health and wellness, and be there for my own kids.
What sort of part did menopause play in this journey for you with RNT?
Huge part. I've been in a sort of a rubbish place for a few years now. Also, I had breast cancer in 2010 and I've been in remission. And I actually think that since the breast cancer hit, my hormones were messed up. And without realizing, I think my body got so messed up that I had all the menopause symptoms for the last, I think I've had them for the last 20 odd years. But menopause, you don't sleep well, right? The hot flushes are there. You feel tired. The PMS before um, so-called period is terrible. My rage has been horrible. I was put on HRT 2 years ago, but because of my breast cancer, they had to be really careful about the dosage and all of that. The reason they said, right, you can go on HRT is because they said the stress around your mum is probably going to get to you before breast cancer does. So let's start you on HRT. But training 3 times a week, the cardio, the steps, everything, I felt has given me such a boost. And actually, it's the best thing for me at this age because I just feel stronger. And, like they say, for your bones to be strong, for you to avoid osteoporosis, even for you to be mentally fit, strength training and just being active is so, so, so important. And yes, I do yoga, but it just all got to a point where everything plateaued and nothing was working. And also, I just wanted to do something different. So for menopause, fitness and nutrition, eating clean has been the best thing ever because some of the symptoms, just as monthly symptoms, diminished completely with my eating habits.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. And when you were at your photo shoot, what was it like?
So my husband came with me and my youngest son came with me. He's 16. I was a bit nervous, but at the same time I was excited and it was brilliant. I literally walked out of there kind of like feeling so high. It was just amazing. And I had some yoga poses in there and I had the other kind of poses in there, but it was just brilliant because Simon then showed it to me on his camera, the photos he was taking. He said, look, this is how it actually looks. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that I had muscle there and I had muscle there. And my back looked amazing, which I was surprised about because you can't really see it. It was just brilliant. It was just brilliant. And it was just a very proud moment.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when you first see yourself in the camera, you just can't believe it, right?
Yeah.
And it's the product of all the hard work that you've put in. And like you said, it's proof of what's possible.
Yeah.
And, when you go all in on something, you're like, hey, in the future, you can be like, you know what, I can do hard things, I can do things which push me out of my comfort zone. And I think a photo shoot, a journey like this where it's so all in because it's nutrition, it's training, it's lifestyle, it's everything, right? It's 24/7. It really changes you who you are. And the photo shoot is like the culmination of all those habits and micro changes to create something quite special.
Totally. I think anyone on this journey, you've got to do a photo shoot if you can.
Yeah.
It's just the icing on the cake, I think.
Yeah, amazing. Now it is icing on the cake and it is a checkpoint. So let's move to the next phase now and go into sort of consolidation and, where you are now in the investment phase. How did you manage the consolidation and early investment, especially with, the various different life changes that happen for you? And what was it like, going from that all in nature of the grind to not quite having that deadline as you've been working towards?
So going from the grind to consolidation, it did feel a bit weird. Kind of felt a bit lost actually. And even though you could have maybe a little bit more food because the calories do go up, I kind of stuck with the same food for a while, out of choice. I felt comfortable doing that. And consolidation, I was absolutely fine. It's when investment hit, and it kind of hit at the same time as Mum passed away in October, and her condition was getting worse. So I was managing her. Dad wasn't in a great place, and my sister is profoundly deaf. So her level of maturity and understanding is not there. So I had to manage her as well, and her expectations of what's going to happen with Mum. So I was kind of looking after 3 people. So investment, I was fine till about November. And after November, I felt like I think I was so upset about Mum, and I didn't realize that it had hit me so bad that those snacks were sneaking in again. I was turning to that habit that I'd formed years ago of eating when I'm stressed or when I'm upset. And I recognized it and I spoke to Lewis about it. And, I kind of went back into a routine where I was just eating simple food. I wasn't having loads of variety, and just upped my steps again. And I was doing training 3 times a week. The cardio had stopped completely, just because it had. So after the grind, consolidation went really well, but investment was a little bit tough for me. And I gained a couple of kgs, probably 3 actually kgs. And in December, I went to Kenya, like I said to you, took my dad there, and eating up there was a little bit out of control. And, the Kenyan food is so amazing, that became a little bit difficult for me to manage. But as soon as I got back after Christmas, I said to Lewis, you've got to be strict with me. And can we just get back into a routine where I start coming down a little bit in weight? Because I am struggling here, because I feel like I'm not at my fittest at the moment. And I've worked on it for the last, I'd say, few weeks, and I'm beginning to notice a difference again. I'm feeling amazing again. So investment has been hard, but only, I think, because of what's happened. And also, I'm still grieving, and I have moments where it's hard because, mum's no more. Even though she's at peace, selfishly, I still want her here, so it's a tough one. But I'm realizing that this is it's completely down to you what way you want to take this after consolidation, and if you want to keep at it, then you've got to be consistent. You've got to remember why you got into this in the first place. And yeah, stick with it, I guess. The same discipline applies like it did in the beginning. Even now, that discipline has to apply. I think the grind was easier than me being in investment.
Yeah, it's because there's now no immediate goal. And this is why the investment phase is so important, because what we're trying to do now is integrate this new identity into the normal day-to-day lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it just becomes a part of who you are. And whilst you can have that, small couple kilos here or there, you call it early. And you're like, okay, actually, these are the bad habits coming back in, especially because it was a difficult period in life where there's all the forces putting you back into old habits. But you caught it early, and now it's a case of, right, now how do I build that lifestyle solution when there isn't a clear goal? And this is all about that identity integration, and the fact that you're so aware of it shows that things are happening in the right place. It's moving in the right direction, and now we just need to let time and accountability around that time do its own thing. So
Okay.
yeah, very, very normal experience. But it's also it makes it much, much harder when there are external life forces at play as well, which would normally cause potential relapses in how you deal with food. So I think you're doing a great job. And now we just need a bit more time and exposure to more situations, and not necessarily to that level, but in a sense of stress or whatever it may be, and seeing how you respond to it, and seeing can your response to stress change.
Yeah, 100%. Like my husband says, life is not life without its problems.
Yeah.
You don't live. No one lives a perfect life, and you have to have problems, because otherwise, how are you going to grow? How are you going to develop? How are you going to know what you're capable of? You have to have challenges in life, in order to grow. So for me, those external stresses were kind of, quotations, enough by themselves. But when you then put a program into place where it's going to test your patience, it's going to test your discipline, it's going to test your, how much you really want this, it's doubly hard. And it wasn't about me wanting to be skinny. It was about me wanting to become strong, be toned up, yes, lose a few kgs, but to a point where I'm feeling good, but I also want to have the strength to go with it. And right now, my sort of, the goal in investment is to build lean muscle. And I just want definition. I want real definition to my frame. And obviously I know it's going to be harder at my age. But I'm just going to keep at it.
Yeah. What was so you're 15 months into your journey? What was your why from going from year one to year two? When you decided to extend another year?
For me, it was really simple. I just wanted someone to be accountable to, and I felt that I'd done 1 year, which was amazing, and it's probably the best thing I've done. But I just wanted to go for another year because I feel like there is more that I can achieve.
Yeah.
There is more that I can get out of this. There is more that Lewis can help me with. Because I want to lift heavy. I want to lift really heavy. And I will try my best. And, you know, I also feel that anyone who is 50 plus or hitting perimenopause, menopause, you know, don't shortchange yourself. I think you've just got to get out there and challenge yourselves in different ways. And also, you know, with my yoga, I've started teaching again, and you know, I want to help women who are in their late 40s, 50s realize that it doesn't stop there. You know, you've still got lot more years ahead of you, and you can enjoy them like you're still 40. You know, you don't need to feel that you're getting old. You absolutely don't need to, because I certainly don't. And, you know, recently when I was away, I was with my cousins who are 20 years younger than me, but kind of all on the same level, doing exactly the same stuff. You know, I challenged my cousin to burpees. And she's like, how the hell can you do so many burpees? I was like, I love burpees. But it's just a mindset thing, isn't it? And like, just don't stop yourself when you get to perimenopause or menopause. You know, you just keep going even more so. Because you will come out of it feeling amazing.
How's the physical been the vehicle for you, Reemi?
I think it's been a game changer. It's kept me sane, put it that way. It's been therapy for me, complete therapy. I've managed to keep my sanity, and it's made me strong physically and mentally. And I think it's just been therapy for me.
In what sense? What sense has it been therapeutic?
The physical has made me stronger physically, mentally, but also every time I felt like shit, I'd end up in the gym or I'd go for a workout, I'd go for a walk. And that feeling of where I felt really low or where I felt really confused or whatever it was, it just went. And I came back feeling re-energized, renewed, and wondering why I felt like that in the first place. So I think movement is key. You know, whether you walk, whether you do yoga, whether you strength train, whether, you know, you do cardio, cycling, whatever it is. But I think movement is the key to a happy, healthy mind and body.
Amazing. And you briefly touched on it at the start, but what almost kept you from starting this journey?
I honestly didn't trust myself. I just thought I'm not disciplined enough to do this, because now I procrastinate a lot. You know, I'm one of those, and I thought, how am I going to? I'll say to myself, yeah, I'll do it. I'll make the changes in food, but knowing me, I'll probably do it one day and the next give up. But I think my why was so strong in the sense that I wanted to do this for my mum. I wanted to do this for myself. You know, I needed to get out of this funk I'd been in and just prove to myself that you can do this. And for me to then physically be able to lift my mum and help her with all the issues she was facing, it was just a no-brainer. And that focus that I got from RNT, the focus helped me deal with my mum's situation in a weird way. It just gave me more strength, more energy. I guess the clean food I was eating was giving me the energy as well. But I just felt better in myself. The whole thing made me feel better in myself. And I think I felt worth it. I felt like I was doing something worthwhile, and I was doing it for myself. I was doing it for my mum. I was doing it for my boys. All round, there was nothing bad about this thing. It was all going in a positive direction. And I think that was the key.
What would you say to someone who's right at the start of their journey right now?
I'd say you're probably going to sit there thinking, oh, what have I got myself into? Or this is going to be really hard. I'm just at the beginning, and the process phase feels so far away. Actually, it's not far away. And the more kind of consistent you are now, the next few weeks and months get easier and easier. And actually, you'll get into a mind frame of just pursuing it and thinking, right, this is it. This is what I want to do for the next few months. The fact that you've started this program in the first place means that you were open to some kind of change, right? So don't sell yourself short, just go for it. And I can tell you, it's so worth it. And also, honestly, if I can do it, anyone can.
Amazing. Any final few words for the listeners, Reemi?
I just say, if you've committed to RNT, then it's so worth it. And, the coaches are amazing. Everything they do is actually, it makes sense. It makes so much sense. And stick with it. Consistency is the key, I think. Just commit yourself and just go for it. Put your 100% into it, and you will reap the rewards.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on, Reemi. It's been amazing seeing your journey, and I'm looking forward to seeing you progress in the investment phase.